All right, here we go. Brand new Flyers Daily for the 28th of November, 2025. Flyers Daily presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. Flyers back in action today for Black Friday. It is weird, though, today because the Flyers are not having their usual home game matinee for Black Friday that they've had pretty much for every year for 25 or 26 years, with the exception of one. They are on the road today while the Eagles are at home at Lincoln Financial Field. Flyers will be in New York on the island to take on the New York Islanders. So very strange when you've kind of gotten used to this over all of these years that the Flyers Black Friday game was kind of one of those things like, like you saw yesterday where Detroit plays every Thanksgiving or Dallas plays every Thanksgiving. Flyers play every Black Friday. Not the case this year, at least not at home, but they are in action tonight. Or this afternoon, I should say, against the New York Islanders, who come into this game actually a couple spots ahead of the Flyers in the standings. Flyers have played 22 games. Islanders have played 24. Flyers 12-7-3, 27 points, while the Islanders come in 24 games played, 13-9-2, 28 points. So 1 point up on the Flyers. Islanders are 7-3 in their last 10, +3 in goal differential. Flyers, rather, 6-2-2 in their last 10 with a +3 goal differential. Flyers won their last one, the 4-2 win over the Florida Panthers. It's tough for me to remember. And the Islanders lost their last one. And the Islanders are a team that right here in the mix in the Metropolitan Division. Their loss came to Boston. 3-1 was the final. They did have a 1-0 shutout prior to that in the shootout against the Seattle Kraken. You don't see a 1-0 shootout win very often. They do have a couple of shutouts on the season. They have that 1-0 shootout one over Seattle on November 23rd. They shut out Detroit 5-0 on November 20th. They also shut out the New York Rangers 5-0 back on November 8th in New York. This is a team that's got 3 shutouts on the season already here in the early going. Flyers have been shut out one time. That came Monday against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Who's leading the way in goals? It's actually Bo Horvat leading the way with 14 goals in just 24 games. He is on one heck of a pace. He's got 25 points in those 24 games. 3 of the goals are on the power play, 5 power play assists. Pretty high shooting percentage, 17.3%. Second in goals for the New York Islanders is actually Emil Heineman, who's got 9 goals, 6 assists for 15 points in 24 games. But Matthew Barzal has 18 points, only 7 of them goals. And Matthew Schaefer, wow, what a crazy story this is at this young age. 24 games played, 7 goals, 9 assists, 16 points, a +8 in 23 minutes and 5 seconds of ice time, and 4 power play goals. What a remarkable start to his career. Now, we talked about it all week about the goaltenders the Flyers have been facing, the Russian 3. Vasilevsky, who shut them out on Monday 3-0. Bobrovsky, who the Flyers beat 4-2 on Wednesday. And today, Ilya Sorokin, 16 games, 7 wins, 7 losses, 2 ties, overtime losses, 2.7 goals against average, and a .901 save percentage. And Ilya Sorokin has been a guy that's had tremendous success against the Flyers in his career. I can't imagine he's got better numbers really against anybody. It's just remarkable what he has been able to do against the Flyers. Let me give you the numbers in his career against the Philadelphia Flyers. Sorokin, in 17 games played against the Flyers, has a record of 11-3-3 with a 161 goals against average and a .944 save percentage. That's got to be his highest save percentage for any team he's played. Well, Montreal, it's .945, but he's only played them 7 times. Just insane numbers against the Flyers for Ilya Sorokin. Again, a 161 goals against average, .944 save percentage, and 4 shutouts. So the task for the goaltender against today is not easy. Now, we will not get a Russian goaltender coming up tomorrow when the Flyers take on the Devils, and they have that rematch of the Flyers 6-3 win that happened at Xfinity Mobile Arena last week. But it'll be the Flyers and the Islanders today, and then tomorrow they'll wrap up this 4-game trip when they face the New Jersey Devils at the Prudential Center. The Devils are sitting at the top spot in the division, 23 games played, 15-7-1, 31 points, +3, same as the Flyers, in goal differential. They've won their last two, and the Devils are an absolute wagon at home, 9-0-1 at the Prudential Center. They're under 500 on the road at 6-7. Flyers are 4-1 on the road so far this season. So we'll see the Islanders today, who are 5-1 at home. And then tomorrow, Flyers right back at it to take on the New Jersey Devils. Then they're going to return home again for another kind of a monster stretch of home games to kick off the month of December. We're going to see, how about a 6-game homestand from December 1st, where they take on the Pittsburgh Penguins, all the way up until the 13th. So pretty much 12, 13 days. It'll be the Penguins, the Buffalo Sabres on the 3rd. The 7th, we'll see our first look at the Colorado Avalanche. I hope they cool off by then. They've been unbelievable. No doubt about it who the best team in hockey has been so far. Then Macklin Celebrini and the San Jose Sharks will come to town. Then Mitch Marner and the Vegas Golden Knights will come to town on the 11th. Then it's Carolina to wrap up the homestand on the 13th before they go to Carolina on the 14th. So, again, pivotal stretch here leading from, first of all, just to close out the last 2 games of this road trip, and then for the 6 straight games at home, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Colorado, Sharks, Golden Knights, and Carolina. So really pivotal stretch for the Flyers before the holidays. And we're getting into that point in the season now. We've got a pretty decent sample size. We're starting to learn who some teams are. Buffalo who we thought they were. And then we see teams like Colorado. We know what they are. In the Eastern Conference, we know Carolina is a good team. Montreal, we're not quite sure yet. They're up and then they're down. They're really injured. What are the New York Rangers is a question that needs to be answered coming up in this next stretch or period of the season. We feel like we know what Vancouver or Calgary is, but what is Edmonton? What is, some of these teams? Where Washington, where do they fit in? Where do the Islanders fit in, frankly? I feel like I know the Devils are good at the top of the division. Even without Jack Hughes, they can weather that storm and hopefully get them back, but we'll see how this all plays out. But when it comes to all those questions, and we know who is what, do we know what the Flyers are? That's the question that I don't know. Now, I know they're a team that has been incredibly resilient so far through 22 games to be getting 27 points in those 22 games, a .614 points percentage. We know they're right there in the mix with multiple games in hand on several teams in the Metropolitan Division and in the Eastern Conference. But I'm still not sure what they are, because of 22 games, they've come back 10 times this season, which is the most in the NHL, when they haven't scored first and come back in games to get the win. And they've come back from multiple goal deficits 4 times to get a win, including against this Islander team back about a month ago. They were down 2 goals in that game, not once but twice. They were down 3-1, got it tied at 3. They were down 5-3, got it tied at 5 in the third period, and then won it in the extra time, in the shootout. So when I see that almost half of your games are the come-from-behind variety, and about 20% of your games you came back from multiple goal deficits, is the .614 points percentage sustainable going through the season? That's what I wonder. I don't know. Is the goaltending of Dan Vladar has obviously been a huge thing. The defensive play and structure has helped him, but he's also been great. I just don't know. I don't know how this all plays out for this Philadelphia Flyers team, which leads me to a couple of the comments and some emails. I got this email from Ed. He said, "Hey, so much to enjoy after that tough first period against Florida. They really had their legs and took the game to the Panthers in periods 2 and 3. How much do you think the more balanced ice time for the lines contributed to them being able to sustain the pressure late in the game? While the fourth line didn't play great, I thought they held their own and had some good neutral zone stops." I agree, Ed. Being able to put lines out there in this condensed NHL season, and I heard Elliot Friedman mention this on 32 Thoughts the other day, there's going to be a stretch where a lot of NHL teams, including the Flyers, are going to have 20 games in 34 days. you are going to have to be able to run 3 and 4 lines. You're going to have to dip into taking guys out of the lineup and putting other guys in at that point after the Olympic break at sometimes. And with this condensed schedule, being able to roll 4 lines, although a fourth line doesn't have a high probability of scoring, it does keep everything fresh, not only for the remainder or totality of the game that you're in, but also games that are coming up by not crushing guys in the amount of minutes that they play. So I do believe that you have to, when you're talking about fourth line playing and balancing the minutes, it's about managing not only that game, but managing your season. Now, sometimes you get into a certain situation happens, a defenseman goes down, a guy like Travis Sanheim can end up playing 28 minutes, 29 minutes in a game. You don't plan that. Sometimes it happens by the circumstances that you're put into. But you want to kind of measure how you use those guys. There was a time earlier in the season where Rick Tocchet thought Sanheim was playing a lot, and they needed to get other minutes to guys like Emil Andre, and he talked about it. And he said that there was a couple-day break, and he told Sanheim, either you're taking today off or you're taking tomorrow off. One of those days, you're not coming to the practice facility. You need to rest. That's him managing the exertion levels of Travis Sanheim and how he recovers and how he's going to manage the entirety of the season, not just in a particular game, but he can manage everything going forward so that the player doesn't hit this just massive wall of fatigue. Because a lot of times when you hit that wall, you can't scale that wall. You can't walk around that wall. You are hit the wall, and that's kind of, you just don't get your legs back, period. And you can try resting a guy or doing whatever, but it's very, very difficult. I do want to get to one comment, and there was a lot of comments on yesterday's episode based on me pretty much going off on Flyers Purgatory. I didn't know my dog was in the background, by the way. But it was pretty funny to watch my white English cream golden retriever nest in the bed and then take a little snooze while we were kind of ranting and raving on the podcast. But we got a lot of reaction from that. And one of the reactions came from Pumpkin King 5174. And Pumpkin King is a Negadelphian. Like, I have nothing against if people want to be this way. I just choose not to. He goes, here's some facts. San Jose, Chicago, and Anaheim all have better prospect pool than the Flyers. Really, Chicago? Are you really going to go to Chicago? You think so? Like, come on, dude. They have Connor Bedard. Okay. He might end up being great. He's been really good this year. Don't tell me their prospect pool is better than the Flyers. You got to do some homework, Holmes. But Pumpkin King is one of those guys. He said also the reaction of some by Frank's comments tells me a lot. Now, Frank Saravalli said on Snow the Goalie that the Flyers should have toured all the way down because they didn't get, a Connor Bedard or a Macklin Celebrini. And while I respect Frank, I do. There are multiple ways to perform a rebuild successfully. And the Flyers were not in a flat cap world, as I explained in yesterday's episode, in a position to to trade all of those pieces. Now, his thing is, well, they should have traded Konechny. But Konechny on an expiring deal wasn't going to do anything to get you into the top of the draft. And it still wasn't going to make you bad enough to be as bad as San Jose was to get the lottery balls. And again, as we know, it's a draft lottery. Even if you're the worst team, you have a 6 or 7% chance to land the top pick overall. So, well, I respect Frank. I disagree with him on this opinion. But my point here is this, is that Flyers Purgatory and Pumpkin King and a lot of other guys, I'm not going to sit here. These people don't want to even enjoy the 4-2 win over the Florida Panthers the other night. There's a whole other subset of the fans that won't and didn't enjoy the win because Matvei Michkov didn't play 16 minutes. You beat the Stanley Cup champs. I get there without Barkov, they're out Chuck, and I get in the big picture, a regular season game in November of 2025-26 isn't the be all end all of where your organization is in a regular season game. Like I understand all that. But if you watch the sport and you watch the games and you have such an interest that you're watching this podcast or you followed the Flyers, how is it fun to not even enjoy that win? To go, yeah, they won the game. It was a resilient comeback, but I'm not happy because Mishkov only played 14 minutes. When you look at the sheet, everybody played a balanced amount of ice time. Like, how was that enjoyable? I just don't want to live there in that negative space. So I'm not going to bring the podcast there. That's not going to be my Insta reaction. I'm all about the group, the logo. I'm not about an individual player, even though you need really good individual players for the logo to win. But Jesus, this team is off to a points percentage of .614 this season. They are the 8th highest points percentage team in the NHL. You would think through 22 games that they're 3-17-4. I don't even know if that adds up to 22. But, like, enjoy it. The Flyers have stunk the last bunch of years. We didn't have wins to enjoy. Enjoy the ride a little bit. Are they a cup contender now? No. Is the rebuild over? No. There's going to be constant tweaking and constant subtractions and additions. That's how it happens. You don't go from A to B to equals cup contender. Sometimes it's A plus B minus C plus 4 minus 7, all this stuff to finally get it right, which is why it took Colorado over a decade. Connor McDavid's been in the league 11 years. The Edmonton Oilers had, 4 or 5 number 1 overall picks before the Toronto Maple Leafs drafted a lot of guys at the top of the draft. They haven't gotten past the second round because A plus B doesn't equal cup contender. It takes time. You're going to drive yourself crazy if you're going to get mad about a player usage number in a 4-2 win over the 2-time Stanley Cup champions on the road where they were down 2-0. You got to find a way to enjoy these things. Take the games as capsules of happiness, anger, but they're not definitive statements. A single game is not a definitive statement of where a team is in a season. Just because you beat the cup team champion doesn't mean, well, we beat the cup champion, we're as good as the cup champion. No, because we realize there's a lot of factors that come into it. Not who you play, it's when you play them. We realize Barkov and Tkachuk aren't there. We also realized that, you played Tampa on Monday, you lost 3-0. They were missing McDonough, Hedman, Braden Point. But hey, even though they're missing those guys, they had won 4 straight games coming into that one and been playing really, really good hockey. So you look at all those things and you measure it as you go. It's not always definitive every little micro step along the way. So we're going to enjoy it here. I'm not going to sit here and fret. When they have a 4-2 win, I'm going to enjoy it. When they have a 3-0 loss, I'm going to be angry. If they have a 6-1 loss to a bad team at a bad time when they really needed to win, yeah, we're going to be angry. We're going to react to that. But we're not going to just manufacture anger either. Not going to happen. All right, everybody, enjoy your Black Friday. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. We have Flyers Islanders today, Flyers Devils tomorrow. We have Bill Meltzer on Monday. We got a lot to get to. So join us then on a brand new Flyers Daily.